And quote, "It must be very difficult for you to understand why, after being shipwrecked 5 times and experiencing so many dangers, I still want to test my destiny and embark on hardships in search of new fortunes. It and number 39, me." And quote, "I also surprised myself when I thought about it, thinking it must have been the star that ruled me." In any case, after a year of leisurely rest, I prepared for my 6th trip, leaving I ignored all the entreaties of my family and friends. They did everything they could to keep me. Instead of going by sea through the Gulf of Persik, I once again went through many Persian provinces of India to a port, where I boarded a good ship whose captain decided to take a long trip. It was a long trip indeed, but at the same time it was miserable. Both the captain and crew were so lost that they no longer knew where the ship was. Finally they knew, but it was too late. The captain left his post. He threw his headgear into the sea and took it. He pulled out his beard and hair, punched his head and slapped his face, crying out like a man deranged from despair. We asked why he was so upset. He sighed deeply. "I inform you that we are in the most dangerous place in the middle of the sea. A very strong wave of water will sweep the ship away and we will all die in a matter of seconds." Having finished speaking, he ordered all the sails to be lowered, but during the operation, the ropes suddenly broke and the ship could not be controlled. It was swept away by the current and pushed hard into a blocking mountain, breaking many pieces. However, when we saved people, we also had time to save some food and some precious goods. The captain told us, "God just did what he wanted. We can each dig a grave here to bury ourselves and say goodbye to each other one last time, because we are in an extremely tragic place. No one who was trapped here before us can return home." The captain and number 39's words made us all sad and hopeless. We hugged and kissed each other and lamented and cried for our sad fate. Everyone was in tears. The mountain at the foot of which we are residing is the shore of a very long and wide island. This stretch of shore is littered with many pieces of shipwrecks and everywhere are piles of white bones that look horrifying. We clearly see that many people have died here. Another unimaginable thing is that along with the piles of bones, there are piles of goods and wealth spread out before our eyes everywhere. All of these things only add to the confusion and sadness. Just in our situation. Usually, everywhere, rivers flow into the sea, but here, on the contrary, a freshwater river leaves the sea and flows to the shore through a dark cave with a very wide and high entrance. Whoosh! The most notable thing here is that the mountain stones are all quartz, rubies and many other precious stones. People also see here a stream flowing into the sea full of some kind of substance that the fish eat and spit out amber. These things were washed away by the waves on the sand and scattered everywhere. There are also many trees growing here, most of which are agarwood, no worse than the agarwood on Kamari Island. To end the description of this place, one could call this a bottomless abyss because nothing can return. Ships cannot avoid it once they get close to a certain distance. If they are pushed by the sea breeze, the force of the wind and strong currents will rush them to their doom. And if they are blown by winds from the mainland, there is a good chance they were pushed far away, but the high mountain in front blocked the wind, creating a stillness even though the rushing water pushed them against the rocks and broke them into pieces just like our ship. What a number 39 Worse and more disappointing is that there is no way to climb to the top of the mountain to find a way to escape to the other side. We stayed on the beach like crazy people and waited for death to come every day. First, we divide the food equally between each person, so one person can live longer or die before the other depending on each person and number 39's body type and how they use food. Here Scheherazade stopped telling her story because she saw that it was already dawn. The next night, she continued the details of the story of Sinbad and number 39's sixth trip. And quote, "Those who died first," Sinbad continued, "were buried by the others. As for me, I did the last duty, it and number 39's the same for all of you and it and number 39's not surprising because in addition to the part shared with you, I also kept a part hidden from you. However, when I finished burying the last friend, the amount of food left is really too little, so I Don and number 39's think I can go much further. So I and number 39's digging a grave for myself, so that at some point I can roll myself into it. I and number 39's am sorry. I confess to you that while doing that job, I could N and #39's help but blame myself for being the cause of my death and regret having rushed into this final journey by myself. Not stopping at these things. Thinking about it, I even bit my hand until it bled, hoping to die soon. But God still had mercy on me and made me go out to the river, whose water flowed away under the roof of the cave. There, after looking very carefully, I told myself, this river hidden underground must escape somewhere. Make a raft, sit on it, let the current push you, you will reach a land with people, or you will die. If you die, it and number 39's just changing the type of death. On the contrary, if we can get out of this dreary place, not only will we avoid the sad fate of our fellow travelers, but we can also find new opportunities to get rich. Who knows, maybe fate 1 and number 39's be waiting for me to come out of this hideous accident to generously compensate for my shipwreck. I didn't and #39's hesitate any longer and immediately started making the raft. There was no shortage of materials, so I freely chose good pieces of wood, durable ropes. I tied everything tightly together to form a very sturdy raft. When finished, I loaded up several bundles of rubies, sapphires, amber, quartz, and precious stones. Balancing it and tying it tightly to the raft, I climbed on board with the 2 small oars I had not forgotten to carve, then let the raft drift down the river, abandoning myself to God and number 39's will. Just past the cave and number 39's dome, there was no more light. I didn't and #39's know where the current was taking me. For several days I was in pitch darkness without seeing any light. One time I saw that the dome was so low that I thought it could touch my head, which made me pay close attention to avoid danger. During this time I only nibbled on the remaining food to maintain life. But no matter how frugal we are, food will run out. Then, irresistibly, a gentle sleep came that numbed my senses. I Don and number 39's know how long I slept, but when I woke up I was surprised to find myself in the middle of a large field on the bank of a river where my raft was anchored. A whole crowd of black people gathered around me. I scrambled to my feet and said hello. They told me something but I didn't and #39's understand their language. At that time, I was so happy that I was in a daze, so I wasn't and #39 sure if I was awake or still asleep. Knowing for sure that I was not dreaming, I cried out with joy and recited the Arabic verses, "Call upon the mighty Almighty, He will come to your aid." There in number 39, no need for you to take care of other things. Close your eyes. And while you sleep, God will change your destiny from bad to good. One of the black men, who understood Arabic, heard me say this, came forward and said, "Brother," he said, "please do not be surprised to see us here. We live in the countryside as you see, and today we came here to irrigate the fields with the water of the river that flows from that mountain to these small creeks." Realizing that the river was carrying something, we ran out to see and saw that it was a raft. One of us jumped into the river, pulled it out, tied it to the bank, and we waited for our friend to wake up. "Please tell us your story, it must be very strange. Tell us why you are floating on the river and where you come from." I told them to feed me first and then I would tell them everything. They gave me lots of food, and when I was satisfied, I told them everything that had happened to me. They listened with admiration. When they finished telling the story, they said in unison after hearing the interpreter and number 39's response, "That is truly a very strange story. You need to tell the king personally." I said I was ready to follow their orders. The black people immediately went to find a horse, and a moment later someone brought it to them. They put me on horseback. One group went in front to lead the way. The others, the strongest, carried the raft on their shoulders, leaving it as it was with all the packages wrapped on top, following me. At this point, Scheherazade was forced to stop because the sky was already bright. At the end of the next night, she continued the unfinished story. Oh, and Quat. We went together. Sinbad continued as far as the city of Serendib. I myself was now on that island. The black people took me to their king. I approached the throne where he was sitting, and greeted as Indian kings do, that is, kneel down at his feet and kiss the ground. This king lifted me up, received me very politely, invited me to sit next to him. First he asked my name. Answered. I said my name was Sinbad, a nickname for a seafarer because I had made many sea voyages. I added that I was a citizen of Baghdad. But the king asked again, "How did you come to my country and come to which way?" I did not hide anything from the king and told it as I just told you. He was very surprised and delighted and ordered my story to be written down in golden letters to keep in the archives. Then people brought the whole raft along with the bundles before the king. He looked at them and really liked the bundles of agar wood and amber, especially the rubies and jade stones because he loved them. He said that in his treasure there was no pearl that could compare to it. Noting that he enjoyed looking at the precious stones, fondling one after the other, I boldly knelt down and said, "Your Majesty, not only myself but also everything on this raft belongs to me. Your Majesty and number 39's right. Please use it as you please." He smiled and told me, "I have no intention of taking away what God has given you. Not only do I not want to reduce your wealth, but I also want to increase it. I Don and number 39's want you to leave my kingdom without anything to show for your generosity." I can only respond to those words with wishes for his country and number 39's peace and prosperity and praise for the kindness and generosity of a heroic soldier. He assigned an official to take care of me and sent people to serve me carefully. That mandarin obeyed his master and number 39's orders faithfully and had all the bundles and packages on the wooden raft delivered to my residence. Every day, at a certain time, I go to visit the king, and the rest of the time I walk around the city to see what a number 39's interesting and strange here. Sinbad Island is located exactly below the ecliptic, so day and night here are 12 hours long. The island and number 39's length and width measure 80 parasanges. The capital city is located at the end of a beautiful valley formed by a mountain in the middle of the island and is the highest mountain in the world. That and number 39's right, 3 days and number 39's journey across the sea, it was seen. People find many types of minerals here, including red stone, and most of the mountain rocks here are sandstone, a metal stone used to sharpen precious stone objects. People also see here all kinds of rare plants, especially cedar trees and coconut trees. Along the coast and in the river mouths, people still dig for pearls, and in some valleys of the island there are even diamond mines. Because of my faith, I even made a trip to the top of the mountain, to the place where it is said that Adam was exiled after being expelled from paradise. When I returned to the city, I asked the king for permission to return to my office. The king immediately approved with a very humble and polite attitude. He forced me to accept a valuable gift from the warehouse, and when I came to say goodbye, he gave me another gift of greater value along with a virtuous letter addressed to the leader of the believers, our emperor. He told me, "I ask you to present this small gift to Emperor Harun al-Rashid along with my letter and tell him that I always love and respect him." I respectfully accepted the gift along with the letter and promised the king that I would fully carry out the orders he condescended to give. Before I got off the ship, the king called the captain and the merchants who were going on the trip with him, ordering them to pay close attention to me. King Sinbad and #39's letter was written on the skin of a certain rare animal whose color turned yellow. The text of the letter, written in blue ink and in the Indian language, is as follows: "Although the gift sent to Your Majesty is not worth much, I hope Your Majesty will accept it out of the friendship that comes from the bottom of my heart. Taken in the brotherhood and friendship of which this gift is an expression. I hope you will allow me to enjoy the same friendship as you. Consider yourself worthy of it because of your equal status with him. As a brother, I make this request to Your Majesty. Hello." The present consisted of, first, a jar of a whole ruby, hollowed out and carved, 1/2 foot high and a finger thick, filled with round gems weighing 1/2 dram. Second, a snake skin with scales as big as a gold coin and has disease-preventing properties for those who often lie on it to sleep. Third, 50,000 dramies of the most fragrant agarwood and 30 pieces of camphor the size of peanuts. And finally, after all the above gifts, there was a female slave whose beauty turned into a costume studded with pearls. The ship set sail, and after a long, smooth voyage we landed at Balsora and from there to Baghdad. My first task as soon as I arrived was to fulfill the mission given to me. Scheherazade stopped talking because she saw that it was just dawn. The next night, she continued, "Oh, and quat. I took the letter from King Sinbad and went to the palace of the ruler of the faithful, followed by the beautiful slave girl and her family wearing the gifts entrusted to me. To be clear, Reason and I was immediately brought before the emperor and number 39's throne. I prostrated myself and, after relating the matter very briefly, presented the letter and the gifts. The emperor, having read the king, Sinbad wrote in the letter, asking me if it was true that this king was very rich and powerful. I knelt down again, and when I stood up, I said, "Lord, leader of the believers?" I can assure you that he did not exaggerate the truth about his wealth and power. I myself was amazed. It is impossible to describe the splendor of that king and number 39's palace. When going on tour, he sat on a throne placed on the back of an elephant and walked between 2 rows of ministers, courtiers and other officials of the court. In front of him, also on the elephant, was a military mandarin in his hand. A golden spear. Behind him stood another martial officer holding a golden staff, and at the tip was a jade slab half a foot long and as big as a thumb. The midfielder is a military unit consisting of 1,000 people wearing brocaded felt and silk uniforms, sitting on luxuriously decorated wooden chairs. In addition, King Sinbad is also a very fair and upright king. In the capital as well as in other localities in his country, there was no praetor. The people of your country do not need that. They understand the law, respect and follow the law and never stray from their duty. Therefore, courts and praetors were completely unnecessary to them. The emperor was very pleased with my report. He said, "The king and number 39's intelligence is shown in the letter, and after listening to him tell it, I also see that he is truly worthy of his subjects. And his people are also worthy of him." Having finished speaking, the emperor let me go and gave me a valuable gift. Sinbad finished the story, his listeners also withdrew, but Sinbad received 100 sequins. The next day, they all went to Sinbad and number 39's house again so he could tell them the story of his 7th and last adventure. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.